like I say, one day one of them said something, I was complaining about the maps, and he said, we can do this.
Yeah.
And I said, can we get some of those? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You just tell me what you want.
Wheeling and dealing.
That's
I like
how it came about. The thing
Yeah.
about it, he's mentioning Longton. He got the Longton after he got shot, okay? 5 times. Slow learner. But Longton was a secret base within a secret base within a secret base within a secret base. They had six
projects.
6 secret bases within Longton. So if, let's say that you had a white badge, you could not go into the red badge area. And if you had a red badge, you could not go into the black badge area, whatever it was. Everything was very in a very small compartment, so to speak.
Sure.
The Japanese had it for a while. The Vietnamese had it for a while. We had it. Anyway, it
CIA had it.
CIA had it, the whole thing. The one thing that I want to bring up, and that is, we would have an after-action report, AAR, okay. The real information was at the club or at the hooch.
Okay.
Is, hey, understand you ran Delta 4 last time. Yeah. Tell me more about it. He's going to tell you more information that is not on the after-action report.
Yeah.
How did it feel? You know, what was something there that you felt was on the other side of that ridge line? Yet you couldn't confirm it, but he says, yeah, there was something there. We thought we heard some noise because the wind was coming this way, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So that gives you an idea. Okay, when you engaged the enemy, were they good? Were they loose? Oh, no, they were kind of loose, and in fact, they were construction workers.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
construction workers. Makes a big difference. You know? And then he'll tell you that you would confront 100 construction workers, it was a piece of cake.
Yeah.
You end up fighting 10 seasoned NVA, you have a firefight on your hands.
Yeah, you got a problem.
You got a problem. Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gathering intelligence outside of what's
Right.
in the briefs typically.
It's the
Right.
reality of
Yeah.
it.
The reality, and that's when
there's-
you're sitting down at the club, or you go over to their hooch and you sit down and have a beer or two, or whatever. But yeah, that was
I don't want to dig too much, but we talked about secret bases within secret bases.
yes.
What was going on here? Was this
Well,
where-
they
I'll let
were
him talk about
they
that.
were individual projects from training agents to go back into Vietnam, taking Chu Hoys that had gave up, and then retrain them and put them back in,
Convert 'em,
that
yeah.
type of thing. So there were, like I say, 6 different programs there. One of them was ours, which was the MAC-V SOG recon team.
Yeah.
That we ran the recon school there, and the main thing it was just basic information integrity.
Okay.
That, you know, how you keep a secret is you don't tell anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's known. You tell one person, and then they tell one, and then first thing you know, everybody in Vietnam knows about it.
Sure.
So it was just good security and information integrity.
Makes enough
that,
sense.
And if now, you know, I had one of the tags, I could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Later on, I became the S3, the operations officer of the entire camp.
Okay.
So I could go anywhere. But like when I had the 1-0 school, you know, I didn't go over and one of the other, I just was thinking
Strata?
of that, into the strata area or into any of the other areas.
Gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
the old axiom is, if you don't need to know, you're better off not knowing.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, you know, just don't ask no questions, and nobody tells you, and everybody honored that. We understood it. It was
It's
because
for your safety too.
loose lips
Yeah.
get you killed.
Yeah,
That's,
exactly.
You know, we had teams that just, once they hit the ground and the helicopters left, like Gene says, once they left, when you were deep, it would take them, they'd have to go back refuel to get back.
Yeah.
And it'd take them an hour, hour and a half to get back. And we had teams that just totally disappeared. To this day,
to the
we
same.
never found a body, never found anything,
Wow.
nothing. They just disappeared.
And correct me if I'm wrong, capturing SF was a huge
Oh,
priority.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
that was a big, big
And
fella. He'll tell you about that, yeah.
Not one single person on our, that ever, on one of our disappeared teams, ever showed up on a POW list or anything. They've never been heard from again.
Wow.
And they would, the NVA would dress as special forces sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had what they call the CRTs, counter recon teams.
Yep.
And yes, they would come after us that way.
Yeah.
It was a recon team, counter recon team.
They were specially trained to look for SOG teams.
Okay. Wow.
And they were good.
And then,
They
of course,
were
a
good.
lot of our teams, our point man looked just like an NVA.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, give him a 2 seconds of
Give
confusion.
him a
Yeah.
half a second
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah.
And so,
And they
yeah.
probably would not hesitate, and
Be a little quicker.
obviously if your teams are.
One of the deadliest individuals for the recon teams to face was the tracker.
Yeah.
You always, did I say always? Okay, always assumed that you're being tracked. If you did not assume that you were being tracked, you were dead.
And they had Laotian trackers.
Patat
They
Lao.
were good.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and
They were
how good are we
good.
talking here? Like, give me an example of something that, I mean, we see in the movies, we see, some of these trackers that, the broken branch, they could tell you the whole story. What's something that kind of like shock and awed you?
They knew the area better than we did.
Okay.
We're going in there like babies.
Yeah.
They grew up there.
They
They
knew.
lived there.
And then they basically knew where you're going to go. If there is a regimental headquarters, okay, they know that you're going after that regimental headquarters. Okay? They know that. So you have your LZ watcher. There's normally two. One that's going to track you and one that's going to run out and talk to the NVA and say, hey, we got bad, Americans going in there. You have to get rid of the tracker. And so that's the responsibility of the tail gunner, usually the assistant team leader, and the one Vietnamese that you have with you. And it's a tough deal because a good tracker will not make himself visible. You know he's back there. You can sense him, but you can't see him.
They were
Good.
very, very good.
Wow.
And again, most of the time, the trackers did not take any real action.
Okay.
No.
Their job was just to, like you said, they traveled
Yeah.
in pairs. And once you would get to a place, what we called an RON, remain overnight position, we'd go in. And we did not pick a strategically sound RON position, something we could defend.
Yeah,
We
purposefully.
found the thickest bunch of thorns and bush and whatever, and we climbed up in that thing just like a covey of quail, and everybody got back to back so you could touch the man next to you.
Yeah.
And you formed a perimeter, and everybody sat there all night with your safety off and your finger on the trigger, so that because they looked for us with lanterns and dogs and all that kind of stuff, and so
Recon
you
by
try
fire, too.
you just go in and hide as best you can.
Yeah.
And
that-
but so the trackers, their main job was to when you would start to go into an RON position, one of them would stay there and make sure you didn't move, or if you did, he would follow you. The other one would go back and get the reaction force.
Sure.
They'd get a platoon or a company, and they'd hit you at dawn. That's where, right before dawn. They're going to come in and they're going to get you. So, I mean, a lot of times we would get up and move in the middle of the night just to kind of mess things up a little
Yeah.
bit. Again, because moving a company or a platoon, you're going to make some noise.
Yeah.
And so that's, again, we got quiet. We sat there. You obviously, nobody took cigarettes to the field. Nobody smoked. Nobody
Yeah.
did all that stuff. Nobody had anything that would rattle. And we never tried to cook. I mean, we carried dehydrated rice. You had a bag that probably held about, I don't know, it's about 6 inches long,
6 inches long.
about that big around, and you pour some water in it, put it in your pocket, and that's where it cooked off, and you just squeeze it off and eat it. You carry enough food. Our missions were 7 days. You carried food for 4 days
Yeah.
because you'd a whole lot rather be hungry than run out of bullets.
Yeah,
Because you're going to take more We carried 30 magazines apiece.
Wow.
We carried 600 rounds apiece.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that
And-
still goes by quick.
Pardon?
Oh,
It
yes.
goes fast. But, see, if you go up against a well-armed NVA, he might have 100 rounds because they just didn't have that much.
Yeah.
And so we got 6 guys with 600 rounds apiece. We can get firepower.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every one of them's got a Car 15 that goes on full automatic. Everybody's carrying a sawed-off M79. We got firepower there.
Yeah. Grenade
And,
launcher. Yeah.
You know, and everybody's got some kind of a pistol in his pocket somewhere, because that's your go-to. If you drop everything else, you still got a 25 caliber pistol in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, everything we did was for saving yourself.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
think
That
when
there's nobody coming to help.
I think when we take a look at like today's environment, today's warfare, we often see kind of the opposite. I think people get a little bit complacent with their ability to rely on equipment and supply in. This was one of those things that I was teaching when I was instructing Rangers was your magazine discipline is your ammo discipline here. And you would oftentimes see someone react to someone and just dump rounds in. The whole squad's just dumping rounds into one guy, right? And you can't do that when you have an hour exfil, right?
Right.
That's right.
Again, and then this is where it comes in interesting, is the fact that no 2 firefights are the same. No 2 firefights are the same. Terrain has a lot to do with it. And of course, the opposition forces. So I can't say you're going to do this, you're going to do that, or whatever the thing is. And the thing about that, what Travis did at his school was evaluate the situation first. You know, again, you don't know what you're going to run into. And in some cases, yes, you would have the whole team, you know, fire in full automatic, get fire superiority, then go back to single shot. Again, you may do maybe half the team.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
It's all dynamic, right?
The whole dynamics of the battlefield is really, because we're normally going in single file through the jungle, okay? The first 2 guys are going to make contact. 3, 4, 5, and 6, they don't know what's happening up ahead because of jungle visibility.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is, how should we say, is mental telepathy.
Sure. Yeah.
In reading the situation immediately.
Yeah. Because it's all about your response.
It's all by response.
Right.
And
Reading
what you've
the
been
man in
trained to
front of
do.
you.
Yeah.
And do that reading. And again, you would go from visibility from here to you, and all of a sudden, bingo, you pop out, and it's from here to the wall. All of a
Okay.
sudden, you have 10, 11 yards of visibility. 10, 11 yards of visibility in the jungle, that's a long way.
Yeah. Sure.
And one of our other tactics, a part of our IA drill, is to gain immediate fire superiority.
Okay.
Get them to get their head down.
Yeah.
because 6 guys can run a long way in about 30 seconds, and you can get back and reorganize yourself, and then if they come at you, you're much better organized.
Yeah.
But the main thing was just break that initial contact and get yourself organized into a good either defensive, or if you're feeling really good about it, you just go ahead and
Hasty
wipe them
ambush.
out.
Yeah.
You just
Hasty
go
ambush.
ahead and attack right into them.
Yeah.
So, but again, as Gene
So
said,
that
that's
was-
one of them 15 millisecond evaluations you
Yeah.
got to make
Yeah.
as to which
React.
way we go.
Yeah.
So that typical react to contact, first squad kind of goes up, and then
Right.
first
Right.
couple guys in your case,
Right.
and
First
then
couple
you're,
guys.
you're flanking or
And then as a team, as an assistant team leader, because I was an assistant team leader, I was never a 1-0. I was assistant team leader, the 1-1. I've got to read the battlefield, so to speak. I've got to either stay put as part of the immediate action drill, okay, or I have to do a right or left flank. You know, so it's one of those things where you have to know, and within a nanosecond, what do I do? Do I do stay put for the immediate action drill, which is a frontal attack,
Yeah.
you know? Or do I stay back for 1 or 2 seconds and then I'm going to go right or going to go left? Again, it's a flanking. So again, you and we can sit down here over good cold beer and we can discuss infinitum, you know, what to do. Terrain has a lot to do with it, the situation, and of course, you know, AK-47 has a different sound,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah,
Significantly different. Yeah.
you know, from a car 15. So immediately you're looking, okay, I'm counting 8 AK-47s. Okay, that's a good sized unit. Okay, how are they shooting? Are they shooting full automatic? Are they shooting, single shot? So again, it's that evaluation that is done right then and there.
that's that whole MET-TC. Just
Right.
everything's happening
And
dynamically.
And one of the other things that we taught at the 1-0 school is we taught instinct shooting. I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but instinct shooting, the best way I can kind of explain it is if I point my finger at that camera or I point my finger at you, it's there. I mean, your brain is such a magnificent calculation machine. You're right on it. So you teach guys that, and
It's the knuckle or the finger.
that
Yeah.
that and if you are looking at it and you point like that, it's pointing directly at it. So we carried our rifles, we took the slings, everything that would make any racket, and it was gone.
Right.
We took suspension line and we braided a piece of rope about this long, and it went over, one went to the front of it, one back here in the back. And you just carried it right over your shoulder with it had a the Car 15 had a collapsible stock. You just keeps it right under here like this. And so you still had this hand free to do whatever you needed to do, talk on the radio or whatever, but you could still maneuver and shoot and like that. And we had on the firing range, remember the big number 10 cans that you used to get food in? We took number 10 can lids at 10 meters and painted them red, green, yellow, blue, all that kind of stuff. And then you stand under this guy and you call blue, bam, bam, red, bam. And you just learn to shoot just like that, so that you don't have to waste this time to try to bring it up and aim. Just pop, just hit. And it's amazing once you learn to trust your instinct.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As to number 10 lid, it's only 6 inches in diameter.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you could hit it pretty much dead center every
Yeah.
time. I mean, you were hitting that lid all the time. So that was one of the things we taught the guys, that, this is going to save you precious seconds.
Yeah.
And it's going to buy you time.
And it's an interesting concept too in the firearms training as well, is you've been pointing your entire life. When you introduce a weapon, it's a foreign object. It's the same concept, and your fingers are generally pointed in the same direction.
Right.
So trusting that instinct and the hip fire is a great example
Right.
from that.
And a lot of it was hip firing, and that was it, is that you aim with your eye, and it's just a matter of just bringing that sight, just looking at it and go, bingo, that's it.
Yep.
of like the Old West,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
to speak. And the thing about it was when he took over this, prior to taking over the school, we had a lot of teams disappear, a lot of casualties. I was a replacement for my team. Okay, I was with RT ASP. I was a replacement. Sidewinder, same thing. A lot of the teams, we were losing a lot of guys. He saved a lot of lives. To get the instructors come in, and they would cycle in and out. They never would leave all at the same time. They would alternate, instructors and so on and so forth, which was really great. And the thing about it was that the targets, let's say we were up in the northern area, totally different from around the Parex Beat down around the Laotian Cambodian border. Totally different. And then the targets down in mid-Cambodia. The target area, the terrain was different, and what have you. For an example, in Cambodia, you couldn't bomb it for the longest time. He can tell you that. You couldn't bomb there. You would call for help. Can't bomb you.
Why is that?
We didn't.
Political
they
stuff?
They had an agreement with the Cambodian prime minister that we would not use bombs. All they had was helicopter fire support.
Yeah.
Wow.
That they didn't. Now, in Laos,
Yeah.
we were the number one priority for airstrikes.
Sure.
The facts would actually, we called them their code name was Covey. All right, we had a very special set of forward air controllers, the Covey facts, that flew only for us.
Okay.
Nobody else. They flew us, and that's all.
Wow.
And in one instance, they pulled a flight of F-4s off. They were already on a target getting ready to strike in country, and they pulled them off and brought them off to bail the team out.
No kidding.
So so we could get number one top priority for airstrikes.
You could call it prairie fire.
Yeah, you call it a prairie fire emergency. I mean, everything on, you just hear all kinds of stuff coming up on the air. I said, I'm here, let me go.
Wow.
And they would stack them up 3, 4, 5 high. I mean, they were there. And the thing about it is, an E5 would instigate it.
Yeah. Would start
Okay.
that, yeah.
An E5 on the ground would instigate, I'm declaring a prairie fire. And that was it.
Yeah.
And that went up to Covey. Covey would then contact Hillsborough, which was a
C-130 airborne
C-130
controller.
Fort Control. And now that C-130, they would broadband it out. I mean, it goes,
everyone.
okay, boys and girls,
Yeah.
that E5 over there,
Yeah.
and Oscar 8, he needs your help. Get your asses over there.
Wow.
And so that was it.
Talk about air support, which is incredible that you had those assets and you could pull those down. E5, incredible there.
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the tunnels, like the tunnel systems.
Never.
The what?
The tunnel.
The tunnel system?
Tunnel systems.
Never did.
We rarely run into tunnels.
No.
Really?
No,
Really?
no issues
They
with
did-
that.
No,
They didn't-
unless the target area, let's say like the regimental deer, was next to a hill or something like
Okay.
that. Then they would dig into it. But I
You
never
hear about these stories of,
Yeah.
of just the intricate systems that are underground and these
But-
guys popping out.
Now,
and-
the general.
Yep.
No. He was an E5.
Oh, Eldon.
Eldon Bargewell.
He became a general. He was
He
E5
was,
when he was.
he was
with
an
us.
E510 and became a 3-star general.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Eldon stumbled up on
that's
the
right.
Cosvin headquarters.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
A
I forgot about that.
major like division headquarters, and they had a bunker system. It wasn't really a whole lot of, there were some tunnels that connected, but it wasn't, they didn't have the tunnel complex like we found in South Vietnam.
Okay.
Because one, they weren't that. We were the only people out there hunting them.
Yeah.
In Laos, they pretty much had a run of their own out there.
Okay.
They were in safe ground. And that's one thing we had an advantage, because a lot of times our guys would ambush a column coming down the trail. They got their weapons up on their
No
shoulders
idea.
because they're in friendly territory as far as they're concerned.
Wow.
And so they didn't have to go into such great detail as they
Okay.
did in South Vietnam.
That makes sense.
So we
That does
didn't
make
really
sense.
have to worry too much about the tunnels or anything like that. But Bargewell, he went in this, and apparently they left in a big time hurry when they come through the front door, and he got one of the greatest intelligence gatherings. He had maps. Like division headquarters.
Yeah.
And he got op orders. He got maps. He got all that stuff.
And he got shot in the chest too.
Just,
Wow.
Yeah.
just shot in the chest.
He got shot. He had shot the guy. Took his AK-47 vest because it was brand shiny AK-47. Put on the vest. Went further up. He got shot in the chest and it hit the.
Yeah. If you know a Chicom, they had the magazines right here in the front, and it hit the magazine.
Hit the magazine, and he was parading around camp showing, look at the black and blue mark there. But yeah, that was during that mission.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then we had another guy who got shot in the back, and he was carrying a PRC-25 radio.
Yep.
Frenchman.
Yeah.
Frenchman. Yeah.
No, no.
Didn't they have a problem with where they would just spark and light on fire when they got hit?
What's that?
The radios?
No.
No issues.
Our problem was it didn't work most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So
Or you could probably throw a rock further than you could talk with it.
yeah.
The thing about it was that in a lot of cases is that the information that we would bring back is that sometimes higher headquarters would not believe us. Prime example. What was the name of the team that went in and found all those? It was after Long Bay. And
They found
all these tracks.
Tank tracks.
But they were further south from the DMZ, but on the Laotian side. Anyway, it'll come to me later. But anyway, there was one of our teams found the tracks, and they were having a discussion. They were saying, "Well, it could be a bulldozer," and they go, "No, I used to be a tanker, and those are tank tracks."
Yeah.
And we would come back and bring back information. There was 2 target areas that we identified as to had Caucasian advisors. Remember that? And so then we sent a lot of teams going into these particular target areas looking for these Caucasian advisors.
Now these are Caucasian advisors to the North
For
Vietnamese.
for the North Vietnamese.
Russians.
Russians.
Figure we were talking
Yeah,
about Russians.
they were
or-
Russian. And the thing
yeah.
about it is I know they were Russian because not too long ago, I spoke with a Russian Spetsnaz guy that was telling me about what their unit did in Vietnam.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yes.
And
funny is
what is
that?
that information?
The information was that they were afraid of us. We had the guy from FOB2 got on the radio, and just before he called it quits, the guy called him up and called him by name. Called him by name. I'm having a brain fart right now. Called him by name, and he says, "You can sleep tonight," he says, "but leave tomorrow morning." And the guy
And he called his team name too.
called his team name too. And then he said, says, how can I believe you? He says, "Well, put up your hands, And so the guy gave him the finger. He says, "Oh, come on, you can be more imaginative than that." So he says, "Okay, how many fingers have I got?" And the guy goes, 3. He goes, "Oh, my God."
Oh, shit.
And then the guy spoke Russian. So then he started speaking Russian. And the guy goes, they had a conversation for about 2 or 3 minutes. And he says, "Your Russian is pretty good. Good accent." He says, "But you can sleep tonight. We won't bother you tonight, but make sure you leave tomorrow morning." The next morning, Covey comes over, and our 1-0, I can't think of the guy's name. Anyway, he says, "I want out." He says, "Have you been compromised? We want out." "Well, have you been? We want out."
Yeah.
"Have you been shooting?" You go, okay. So
You hear
heard the
it?
gunfire. Here it is. Heard the gunfire. They pick him up. He goes back to Khartoum, and they dispatched a special plane, sent him down to Saigon.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Very
And
interesting.
what Gene was talking about before Long Bay got overrun, a team brought back. We carried a little pin EE camera that was part of our gear,
Okay.
taking pictures, and they brought back pictures of T-34 tanks and sent them to Saigon. And Saigon came back and said they were mock-ups. Said they're not real. They're mock-ups.
Yeah.
Well,
Cardboard
Sergeant
or-
Major
Yeah.
starts with a C, Crimson.
Yeah.
He was at Long Bay. He was the sergeant major at Long Bay. Well, when the tanks were in the wire, he was calling and said, "Okay, you son of a bitch, guess where these mock-ups are out here? They're in
Yeah.
my wire."
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It was some of the issues that we had was convincing our analysts what we saw. For example, I believe, and I think Trapp can probably verify it, I think every team has taken a picture of an elephant turd. I kid you not. It's kind of like a rite of passage,
Yeah.
elephant turd. And people would say, "Well, why did you take a picture of an elephant turd?" Very important, because elephants would carry large amount of equipment, artillery pieces or whatever. So that was the important thing of elephant turds.
That's
And
funny.
initially, they, when people told them that they were using elephants, and they said, "No, the elephants are not that far south. They don't get that far south," and whatever. And that team member actually brought some back in a plastic bag and sent it down to Saigon.
Oh, yeah.
This is
That's
absolutely
incredible.
So
Yeah, them not believing you, it's odd to me. that
that was
you'd have to try
kind
to
of the
convince them.
frustrating
Well,
part.
because it's just theoretical versus on the ground, and what you guys went through.
And toward the end, in the early days when Gene and I were there, the people that were in the command levels, the colonels and that kind of stuff, and majors and senior NCOs, they were experienced guys. Like
Sure.
I say, they jumped on D-Day. They've been around, done some stuff,
Yeah.
and everything else. Well, when we had the episode over there with Colonel Rowe, our commander, over the triple agent that we terminated, and the new hierarchy came in, we got people in our command structure that were not special forces qualified or anything else. I mean, they were hardcore infantry soldiers.
Yeah.
Conventional types.
They were real Army, right?
Sure, yeah.
And they were going to welcome us to the real Army. And the big thing was, when we were there, if you were the 1-0, the team leader, and you called a prairie fire emergency, then you launched everything to go get them out. When he said, "It's time for me to go," then you pull them out. You can sit there in the office and determine whether or not it was the right thing to do or whatever. But when he calls for an extraction, go get them.
Yeah.
Well, the big thing came that when we got the new guys in, especially the operational guys, when the team leader would call for extraction, they'd say, break contact and continue mission.
Oh, Jesus.
For
And
real.
like I say,
And
you're
that
right.
does not work.
No.
Period.
And so morale got really, really bad down
Yeah,
toward the
yeah.
end, and we got a lot of guys hurt. We lost quite a few people because when you're over there and you're out in the middle of nowhere and you only got 6 guys and you got a company or a platoon that's hot on your heels, once you're in contact with them, you're not going to break contact and all they're going to do is get reinforcements.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, and I'm not sure of my numbers, Gene, you can help me with this, but our teams, because we caused so much havoc all along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, we tied up 50,000 North Vietnamese troops
50 to
looking
70,000.
looking for us rather than them being in South Vietnam fighting our army.
Wow, they were that worried.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Between
We-
50 to 70,
yeah.
close to 5 to 7 full divisions.
Wow.
That's
Looking for us.
incredible.
It was, the
Business was a booming,
Yeah.
as they would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
because they'd send a whole regiment after a 6-man team.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were dangerous.
In fact,
Very
you may have
dangerous.
heard this name, Lynn Black.
Mm.
Okay. Lynn Black went in with a 9-man team. I forgot the target area. But he lost 3 men. Okay, he lost the point man, the team leader, and then one of the guys got wounded really, really bad, so he was basically ineffective. But they took on 8,500 men, basically a division. They kicked ass and took names.
Holy shit.
To the
Incredible.
point where they were stacking up the bad guys' bodies as a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And when I talked to Lynn about it, he said that when the bullet, of course, he'd get blood all over him. He says, I was just a bloody mess. Literally, he was just a bloody mess. Not with my blood.
None of
but-
it was
but-
mine.
But it was their blood. He was just a bloody
Yeah.
mess.
And see, the thing was that when they messed with one of our teams, again, we had #1 top priority for airstrikes. I mean, we had bombs, we had the spook gunships.
Oh, yeah.
We had everything that you could bring out there that we could pound those people with, and they would even divert a B-52 strike.
Yeah.
If we found a large supply area or a large way stop area or something like that, I got a call.
Yeah.
I got a call and says,
Get the hell out of there.
And because, like I say, old PRC-25s, batteries were heavy and everything else. So
Yeah.
if we had contact times, unless we were in a firefight, we only talked to people twice a day.
Yeah.
I'm okay, this, that, and whatever, unless some real emergency come up or anything like that. So we only carried 1 backup battery. So, we turned our radio off. So it got down close to the evening. We were going to get ready to go in for an RON in a couple of hours. And so I called up to check in. And they said, where the hell you been? We've been trying to call you all day. I said, why? They said, go west. I said, do what? He said, go west. I said, what for? Go west, just as fast as you can go. And he said, when it gets, at X number of hours, you get on the west side of a hill.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I was 3 miles from a B-52 strike.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
I
Very
saw.
close.
Yeah, I saw one
And I'll
from a
tell
distance.
you, I don't never want to be any closer.
I can't
And I
imagine.
thought I was going to have to hold on to the grass to keep falling off of the world. I mean, that is
Yeah.
the sky just gets this weird glow, and it's just a constant explosion, and you got the concussion in your head. You can't hear jack, you can't see anything. The crowd shaking and all that kind of stuff. But they survive it.
Somehow.
That's the amazing thing.
Somehow, yeah.
And then Then I get the call to do a BDA.
Yeah, go see how bad.
Okay,
we messed this up.
now go see what we hit.
Yeah, go
well,
run
you
down.
To a
know,
hot BDA. Those,
unfortunately, we killed a lot of monkeys and killed a lot of trees, but I don't know. We didn't. We found a few guys that were ragged up pretty
Yeah.
good, but
That's incredible.
we did destroy a bunch of bunkers and things like that. So
Yeah. Well, gentlemen.